Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Attorney General. I gather from your testimony that if you were a judge, you would find against the position the DOJ is taking in the ACA case. Is that right?
I didn't say that.
You said that your recommendation within the administration was a judge would likely conclude against the position. But you said that as the client of the administration, you were taking this position. Did I misunderstand your testimony?
Yes.
Oh,
I was saying I was talking in general.
Yeah. Your assessment within the administration, as I understood it, was that if you were a judge, you would not find in favor of the case.
I said whatever advice I gave the administration would have initially been my personal view as to the best legal. And
your personal view, if you were a judge, you told them that you would not support the case. Is that the administration's position? Isn't that what happened internally?
I'm not going to say what my advice was in the internal deliberation.
I think it was clear, Mr. Attorney General, from your testimony. And you said that they still had some basis for going forward. Let me ask you with regard to the Mueller report in your March 24th letter. You say that Mueller set out evidence on both sides of the question that leaves unresolved what the special counsel views as, quote, difficult issues of law and fact concerning whether the President's action and intent could be viewed as obstruction. Do you agree with the assessment of Bob Mueller that the evidence is, in fact, presenting difficult issues of law and fact on those matters?
I'm not going to comment on it until the report is out and everyone has singing from the same sheet.
General, I'm not asking you for what's in the report. You sent a letter to the United States Congress that included something which was a principal conclusion, which was not a conclusion reached by the Mueller report. You indicated that they did not exonerate the President. You did. And so I'm asking you whether you agree with Mueller that there were difficult issues of law and fact in making that assessment.
That's not a question I really can answer until I think.
Well, you did it, but you looked at the report, right? And you looked at the evidence of the report, and you made a decision. And you said that the President's not guilty of criminal obstruction of justice. I'm asking you, in your review of the report, did you agree with Mueller that there were difficult issues of law and fact?
I'm going to give my reaction and comments about the report after the report.
Well, it would have been, but you put your view of the report out there on this issue of obstruction of justice, right? Nobody asked you to do that.
I didn't put my view of the report.
Well, you put your assessment on, you made a conclusion on the question of obstruction of justice that was not contained in the Mueller report. And I'm simply asking you, when you looked at the evidence, did you agree with Mueller and his team that there were difficult issues of law and fact?
As I say, I am going to explain my decision, and to the extent that requires any assessment of the Mueller report, I'm going to do that when the Mueller report is out.
Did your decision require you to look into the intent of the President of the United States with respect to obstruction of justice?
I'm not going to discuss my decision. I will lay it out after the report is out.
Mr. Attorney General, the thing is, you put this out there. I mean, the President went out and tweeted the next day that he was exonerated. That wasn't based on anything in the Mueller report with respect to obstruction of justice. That was based on your assessment. That was on March 24th. And now you won't elaborate at all as to how you reached that conclusion. Because I'm not asking you what's in the Mueller report. I'm asking about your conclusion. Let me ask you this.
Well, it was the conclusion of a number of people, including me, and I obviously am the Attorney General. It was also the conclusion of the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein.
I understand. No, I've read your letters, Mr.
And I will discuss that decision after the report is out.
Did Bob Mueller support your conclusion?
I don't know whether Bob Mueller supported my conclusion.
So in your June 2018 memo, you indicated a president can commit obstruction of justice in the classic sense of sabotaging a proceeding's truth-finding functions. Did you see any evidence in this report about whether or not President Trump committed what you call a classic sense of obstruction of justice?
I'm not going to characterize or discuss the contents of the report. The report will be made public
in reaching your
next week, and I will come up and testify at that point about it.
Right, but the thing about it is, Mr. General, you put your conclusion out there, and now you refuse to talk about any basis of your conclusion. I'm not asking you what's in the report. I'm asking you how you reached your conclusion. Last question. Can you assure us that the key factual evidence relevant to charges of obstruction of justice will be included in the public report?
Could you just say
Can you assure us that the key factual evidence in the Mueller report related to charges of obstruction of justice will be available in the public report?
I believe it will, and that's one of the reasons why I want to review it after the, when the redaction team is done making the redactions, to make sure that there's nothing in there that would prevent that.
So
and to the extent, and by the way, redactions can cut both ways.
My last question relates to redaction process. My understanding from your House testimony was you're allowing the Mueller team to make the redactions in 3 of the 4 areas you mentioned, all of them except for intelligence. Is that a correct understanding of your testimony yesterday? In other words, you're leaving the discretion to them on the 3 of the 4 criteria that you mapped out.
I have stated what the categories are, and the people implementing it are the justice lawyers with the special counsel's lawyers. They're implementing those categories. And
you're not going to overrule the special counsel's judgment with respect to any of those categories, right?
I haven't.
And can you tell us you will not?
Well, if an issue comes up, I don't want to prejudge it, but it's not my intention. My intention is to allow the team to make the redactions, and the people in the department are making those redactions.
Senator Bozeman.